Hi, this is Mike Hendrickson at Software Architecture here in Boston. I'm here with Mark VanderWiele. Mark, how you doing?
Very well, thank you.
So you're a distinguished engineer at IBM.
Yes.
Very large company. I would imagine software architecture is very important to a very large company like you. Can you talk a little bit about you guys and your role with software architecture?
Well, software architecture has been interesting the last couple of years because what's happened is the rate and pace of it has sped up. It's all about how quickly you can get things to market and how you can do that economically. I meet with a number of companies that are trying to innovate mainly with user experiences and innovate with customers and bring new customers on board. And what they want to do is get the next solution to market. They want to try those things rapidly. Now, what I think is interesting about software architecture is we're doing that with a component-based architecture where we're building applications based on services, microservices. And how do you make those architectures resilient? How do you develop these things quickly and then bring them to market and host them in an environment where they can be resilient for your customers?
Well, you're with the Emerging Technology Group, right? So you're working with customers who are on the cutting edge or trying to do new things. But IBM is really large in the enterprise, and so I'm sure there's a lot of software architecture going on there. But you demoed yesterday this IoT device, or this Internet of Things device, and the architecture behind that. So can you talk a little bit about what this is and why?
Yeah, absolutely. It was kind of fun to demo a toy, but we're really not talking about toys. We're talking about reliable building automation. We're talking about sensors that help identify when cars are going to cross the paths of trains and making things more safe for people. We're talking about traffic controls and being able to do things with a reliable, secure protocol and being able to do that in real time. And that's what we were trying to demonstrate, is the ability to control devices in real time and do that securely and do that through the IBM Internet of Things cloud.
And is that BlueMix, or what is the, because you guys not only have software architecture, you have platforms, and you have all sorts of layers of your stack that...
Yes, it gets a little complicated. We have SoftLayer, which is our infrastructure as a service, where you can get access to machines and VMs. And then we have BlueMix, which is our platform as a service that lets you get access to services and development environments and deploy programs rapidly without having to understand the machines or the VMs or the network architecture. So it lets you innovate more quickly and lets you use a palette of services. Some of the ones we were demonstrating yesterday were some of the speech-to-text services and then the Internet of Things service to connect these devices. But there's a variety of services in the palette that you can choose from. And I think the beauty of the user interface is it makes it easy for a programmer to interact with new services. For example, yesterday I was deploying cloud and databases, and I have no idea how to install and configure, backup, and maintain a cloud and database, but I just select that into my palette, and it automatically gives my program the credentials for using it. It manages the database, and I just worry about storing my data.
So today, Glenn Vanderberg talked about engineering and software engineering, and it sounds like you guys are almost at a point where, or your platform and your services and everything you have, your infrastructures, it's almost like black box assembling. Like you've got a black box, you know what's in it, you know how it's going to work. So are architects of the future going to start architecting systems with not knowing necessarily everything that's inside of that black box?
I think that's the hard part for architects to accept, is there's going to be some things, some services that you may not understand how it works. The beauty of, or what may not understand the actual code inside because you didn't create it. But being able to rely on other people's expertise that create those services, that know that technology better than you. You're not going to go create everything yourself in the future. You're going to have to rely on some of these services, and it's up to architects to pick the enterprise services that they can rely on.
So, question about your architects and your partners' architects. So when you go into let's say a company wants to build some sort of Internet of Things in a car, sensing speeds or whatever they're trying to do, do your architects work with their architects, and do they always see eye to eye, or how do architects mediate who's right and who's got the best answer?
Well, I think there's a selection of components that are right for that company. And what companies want to focus on is their core expertise. And letting us or some other vendors in our palette, we support IBM services and third-party services and community services in our palette, but being able to select the right services for them. And what we encourage companies to do is focus on their core expertise and bring in services from other people that have core expertise. I think if you want to create everything yourself these days, that's a long-winded path, that's going to lead to longer execution times. And what we're looking for now is these rapid execution times to get things to market. I have a couple of companies. They're going to demonstrate things to their board of directors in the next 2 months because they have this great idea and they want to show it to their board working. They want this project to get funded, and those are the projects that are going to go forward. Code talks. Charts, not so much.
Actual practical
Yep.
product shipping or working.
Show me a demo, show me how it's going to work through the details, and that's the process the architects have to get engaged in, is that initial prototype, because that's where you start to understand, well, what are the issues, and what services can I rely on, what services can I bring in. And it's going to be hard to keep up in the future with this rapid pace of development.
And rapid pace of development, it seems like, in the data world, it took about 3 to 5 years to actually go from the concepts to actual implementation, and we're starting to see real use of data more and more all the time. In the Internet of Things, we've all been talking about wearables, and we've been talking about machines in the wild. When are we actually going to start seeing some really interesting things coming to market? Because right now, toy watches and monitors and. When do you see that happening?
So I actually think we're going to see some breakthroughs this year. We were pointing yesterday to an application that we had been creating internally that tracks our runs. And what we're doing is connecting that with a real-time Spark Analytics database so that you can get real-time feedback while you're running against other runners around the world and their historical patterns telling you when to speed up, when to slow down. So what we're going to see is more helpful things coming from the analytics, more fun. So I think it's going to be a good year this year to see more Internet of Things connecting with people around the world and creating communities that do things that are interesting.
Excellent. Well, Mark, we look forward to seeing you and IBM at future events. Thank you.
Thank you so much.